Welcome to this week's edition of the X106 podcast. We're on YouTube now, so check us out on there. Topics for this week will be NFL playoffs prediction, NCAA Final Four, who we think is going to make it there. World Series prediction is starting tonight on the day we're doing the podcast. And then NBA starts tonight as well. NBA preview, who we think is going to make the playoffs, and MVP favorites. It's going to be Devin Albertson, Nienow, Trevor Maeder, and Jonathan Bynum on this week's podcast. And here we go on to the NFL predictions part of our podcast. We're going to start in the AFC. We'll go Sean first. He's to my left here. So, Sean, you can go first.
I guess coming out of the AFC East, I'm going to have the Patriots. Out of the North, it's a bit interesting because Pittsburgh's not playing very well. Big Ben did throw passes today, and he had the surgery last week. I think it was on Monday that he had it, so he's, getting back a little bit faster than the 4 to 6 weeks. I think Houston still wins out of the South because I don't think they're going to lose a game in the South. The West is a bit rough, though, because I think all teams coming from the West could win because San Diego picked a win up off the Falcons this week, and that was pretty interesting. But, I'm going to go with my heart and say the Chiefs win the West. I'm going to have Denver as the first wild card, and Buffalo is my second wild card.
All right, how about you, Trev? What do you think?
Well, looking at it, I agree with Sean for the most part. It's New England's division. It has been since 2001, and it will be until Tom Brady and Bill Belichick ride off into the sunset. Pittsburgh's the best team in the AFC North. They're a little dinged up right now, but Big Ben's going to come back, and they're going to be A-okay. The AFC South, I can't tell if this division is really good or if it's really bad.
I'm going to tell you it's bad right now.
I'm going to pick Jacksonville because they're only a game out or a game and a half out, essentially. Houston's hosting the Super Bowl. There's no way that without J.J. Watt, you're telling me that they can get Brock Osweiler into the playoffs. We all saw how Brock played last night. I'm going to take Jacksonville. Indianapolis has nothing outside of Andrew Luck. Maybe Tennessee. They've played teams really well this year. Marcus Mariota is growing up right in front of our eyes. In the AFC West, I'm with Sean. I'm going to go with my heart. The Chiefs, their next 4 games, they're pretty soft. You got Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and I believe Carolina in there as well before you get Denver on the road. So if we can come out of that 3-1, we'd be sitting at 7-3. I definitely like those odds. Wild cards, I'm going to go Oakland. I think Oakland's got the offense to compete with teams. And I'm going to go Cincinnati. We've seen this before with Cincinnati where they kind of start off a little sluggish. I think it was Andy Dalton's rookie year. They started 3-5 or 3-6 and basically won out the rest of the way to make the playoffs. I'm gonna say Cincinnati makes them. I'm not sold on Denver. A Rex Ryan coach team. We know how those come December or January. They're just not there. Baltimore, I'm still not sold on Baltimore. I think they're overrated. I'm gonna go Cincinnati.
All right, what do you got, Jonathan?
For the AFC East, I definitely have the Patriots because they've never been bad in the history of their franchise, to be honest. Tom Brady's leading the way for them. AFC West, I'm going to go in my heart. I definitely want to see the Chiefs. They're most definitely the sleeper team. And then AFC North, definitely the Steelers. Big Ben is a machine as a quarterback. He just needs to stay healthy in order for them to succeed. And AFC South is a train wreck this year, but if I had to pick something out of that train wreck, it'd have to be the Texans. And wild card, I'm going to go the Bills. The Bills are looking pretty solid this year, and I'm going to go hopefully the Ravens because I like Joe Flacco, and I hope he turns it around before
all right, interesting.
said and done.
For me, personally, AFC East, Patriots are going to get the 1 seed, in my opinion. The Chiefs, I had them win the AFC West, battling for that 2 seed with Pittsburgh coming out of the North. I had the Colts actually win the AFC South. I think everybody's terrible. Brock Osweiler is so inaccurate. It's baffles me how he's that inaccurate. I know he's playing Denver, but still, that's 2 primetime games he's played this year where he's looked like absolute garbage. The week before against the Colts, he looked like garbage. He finally played well at the end because the Colts have no defense. I think the Colts are just going to be able to squeak through that division. 8-8 probably wins that division, so I think the Colts are just going to get it. First wild card, I got the Raiders. I think Derek Carr could possibly have them competing for a division title. I think they're going to either tie with the Chiefs or be maybe a game back by the time this all ends. And then I got Buffalo in the final wild card. I just don't know what other team. I don't trust Cincinnati. I know they used to be really talented, but they've they've started losing some of that talent a little bit. Andy Dalton's trying to step up a little bit, and he hasn't been able to do so far. Baltimore, their offense is so lackluster. I like Joe Flacco, but their options on the outside just aren't there. Nobody out of the South thinks getting a wild card. It's just down between Buffalo and maybe Denver. I don't think Denver's going to be able to keep up this way they're winning right now. I think they're going to hit a wall here soon. People are going to figure out they're playing Trevor Siemian. So I think that's who I have coming out of the AFC. Let's head to the NFC. What do you got for me, Sean?
Well, coming out of the East, it's kind of hard because all of these teams have played very, very well. The Giants have looked the worst, which is, kind of interesting to say. The Eagles just came off a week where they beat, Minnesota.
Yep.
And, they topped them from being undefeated. And Dallas had a bye week this week, so, we haven't really seen, how they've been doing, but they came off a win against Green Bay. So I think I'm going to pick Dallas coming out of the East because I think they can keep it going. I think that Dak and the offense keeps the ball on their side of the field long enough for the defense to not get burned. Coming out of the North, I want to pick Green Bay with my heart, but I don't think I can because the Minnesota defense is just way too good right now, and the Packers have a lot of things to fix. Even though they are 4-2, they just haven't looked like the same old Packers. Going to the NFC South, the Falcons kind of scare me, but for a lot of reasons. One, because now they're 4-3 after starting 4-0, and we've seen for the past few years that they've been able to get off to these very, very great starts. And then they've just ended the year 8-8, and we're like, okay, well, what happened to this great offense? The Saints are bad. The Buccaneers are just 3-3 because they've beaten pretty bad teams to get their wins. The Panthers interest me because I think that they can get back to winning, but I don't think they will. I think they'll finish around 7-9, 8-8, and then they're not going to make it unless the top of the division,
Falls off completely.
Yeah, pretty much falls off. So I'm going to pick the Falcons for right now, but that's, very, iffy because I don't know how they're going to be able to play. And then to the NFC West where we had the wonderful game this past Sunday, 6-6 tie between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I mean, there were a lot of good plays, but it was just not a very pretty game or one that you would want to have for your primetime game. I guess I'm going to pick Seattle. They're just so good on defense. Offense, they still need to get some things going. Russell Wilson's hurt, so, once he gets back, then he'll become the old guy that he was. So I'm going to pick Seattle coming out of there. I'm going to have Green Bay and Philadelphia as my wild card teams.
All right, what do you got for me, Trevor?
Well, the NFC East, I agree with what Sean said. It's kind of a jumbled mess right now, but the New York Giants are right where they want to be. Anytime they can get kind of close, they're only a game and a half, or it might be 2 games. I think it's actually a game and a half out, and they're in last place. The Giants are more of a mid to end of season team. Normally their struggle is the beginning of the season where they start off 2-5 or 0-6. I think the Giants win that division. I think the Cowboys, I think Dak comes back to life at some point. And not only do I think the Cowboys miss the playoffs, I think Jason Garrett loses his job over. I'm not sold on the Cowboys yet. I think they might even finish 4th in that division, which is funny. Last year it might have been one of the worst divisions in the NFL, and this year it's
rivals AFC West.
Maybe it's the best, absolutely. And in the North, I wanted to go Green Bay as well. I'm not sold. That Minnesota, their Sam Bradford hit away from things just totally imploding, guys. I know their defense is really, really good, but do you want to have to rely on your defense when you're going against another team with a great defense like a Seattle or something come January when you have Sean Hill, Matt Asiata, and Jerick McKinnon in the backfield? I don't think so, but I'm going to pick Minnesota to win that division. NFC South, I wanted to pick Carolina, but looking at their schedule, they saw Kansas City, they have the Raiders, Seattle, San Diego, Atlanta. It's just Arizona this upcoming week. It's just gruesome. I'm going to say Atlanta still wins that division. And the NFC West, Seattle. Arizona, that tie, I think, really kind of hurt them the other night. And I think the tie, personally, is kind of stupid, but that's for another day. So I'm going to say Seattle wins that division. And my wild cards, I'm going to go Green Bay, and Arizona's going to get things bounced back just fine. They were my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year, and I stand by that.
It's interesting. All right, what do you got for me, Jonathan?
All right. for the NFC East, the Cowboys are doing great. They came out the gate strong. They got a young quarterback in Dak Prescott who's doing very well. Then they got Ezekiel Elliott who's doing great. And then NFC West, you got the Seahawks who are doing fine. Even though the Seahawks-Cardinals game was like, yeesh. And then the Vikings are doing very well. They picked up Sam Bradford. They're doing very well. They got a great defense going. I also like the Packers too, but I'm probably gonna have to go to the Vikings in the North. And then if the Panthers don't pick it up by now, the Falcons are gonna take it. I don't know. Cam Newton quickly fell off, I guess. And for wild cards, I'm gonna go Eagles and Cardinals.
All right, for me, I got currently NFC North. I think the Vikings are going to win that division and win the 1 seed in the conference. Actually, I think yesterday was kind of or Sunday, I guess, as I should say, against the Eagles, kind of an anomaly. They had 2 tackles out, and with the current CBA rules, where your lines are already depleted, having 2 of your starters out makes it even worse. I think they'll bounce back. I think they're fine. It's just their offensive line. Once they get the tackles back, they'll be just fine. Seattle, I had them the 2 seed. Yes, for some it was an ugly game. I loved it because I love defense. I think it was every once in a while you need a game like that. Maybe you wouldn't.
I don't know about a 6-6 tie.
Well, I don't like ties.
I think we could.
I like the style of game though. Is what I'm getting at. Maybe because there was still some. It was riveting still. I don't like the ties. I think someone should have to win.
Go college rules. Why don't we go college rules?
I want to go college rule, but a little bit tweaked, but it's not a discussion. I like Seattle. I think they win these ugly games. Like they won the week before against the Falcons. Maybe controversially, maybe Richard Sherman, most likely yes, pass interference. Didn't call it, but they still win that game. They find a way to win these games. They don't get blown out. They just always in games, so they're going to be tough to beat. I had the Cowboys at the 3 seed. I've been a Cowboy opposer for this whole year. I wasn't a fan of Dak Prescott. But Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line is so good. They can overcome stuff. Dak's is getting a lot of praise right now, but he's not having to do a whole lot. He's able to make easy reads, find Cole Beasley across the middle one-on-one with a slower corner. So they're just doing stuff they need to do to win. They're keeping their average defense off the field a lot, which is making them look better. I got the Falcons at the 4 seed. I think they've lost their last 2 games to Seattle by 2 points and to San Diego by 3 in overtime. So I think they're just fine. They just got to win these close games, close them out. They'll be just fine. And I have the Eagles and Packers as my wild card teams. So that's our NFL playoff predictions. We'll come back with our college football Final Four predictions here on the X106 podcast. Now time for the NCAA Final Four college football playoff. We're in week 9 right now?
I think week 10.
We're week 9.
Something
it's
like
week
that.
9
Yeah.
ESPN. Week 9 this week, so I think the playoff rankings come out a week from now or so. I believe that's when it comes out. We'll do what we think our Final Four would be at the end of the year and some maybe contenders that go into this. We'll start with Jonathan. Let's go the opposite, or we'll go Jonathan this time.
Hold on.
Pause. We'll go Trevor this time.
This is Alabama, obviously. Duh. I mean,
they only won by 19 against Alabama.
I know, and that might be their closest game of the year too. This Alabama team to me might be the best team college football has seen since the USC teams with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. Hopefully they don't have the same result and have to forfeit everything. But I think Alabama is probably the best team in college football. I'm gonna say Clemson. They got a big test this week against Florida State. I know Florida State kind of started out slow, but they're playing a lot better. So I think they're gonna have to go on the road to win that one. I believe it's probably a primetime game. I'm guessing game day is there. But I feel confident in Clemson. Deshaun Watson's kind of coming to life.
Oh, you mean for this Saturday?
For this Saturday and the playoffs, yes.
For this Saturday, it's Washington, Utah is where game day is at.
Is it really? Huh, yeah. I figured they'd
be.
At
Utah.
And since I'm not sold on Washington, I think Utah's the better team in the Pac-12. Utah's always quiet with how good they are. I'm not sold on Washington. I think Washington loses this weekend. So I got Alabama and I got Clemson. I'm going to go 2 teams from one conference here, guys. I'm going to go Ohio State and Michigan. I think Michigan will go unbeaten the rest of the season until they play Ohio State on the Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving, which I think is Saturday. Mm-hmm. And that's it. At Ohio State, yeah, that place is going to be rocking. Ohio State's going to come in 10-1. Michigan by that time could be ranked 2nd or 3rd. And I think a loss to Ohio State could kind of give you a little bit of leeway and not drop you far in the polls. I think Michigan and Ohio State have the opportunity to get in the college football playoff. And a little side note, I think if Wisconsin, for some reason, if Wisconsin wins out, which I don't think will happen, and beats either Ohio State or Michigan in the Big Ten, which I don't think will happen. I think they have a legitimate argument to be in the playoff. Really, when you can make the argument that you beat LSU, who's a lot better than people thought they would be. They'd have beat Nebraska, who's going to probably finish with at least 9 wins. They'll beat an Iowa team that is going to probably finish 8-4, 7-5.
It's decent, not awful.
Not a great win, but not a terrible win. They'll have had a road loss to Michigan by a touchdown and a home loss in overtime to Ohio State by a touchdown, as well as beating one of those two. So I think you can make the argument. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm going to say Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, and Michigan. Alabama and Clemson for the national title. Deshaun Watson is going to do what Vince Young did to USC and be your national champion.
All right, what do you got for me, Jonathan?
Definitely Alabama this year, like every year. That's basically their world. We're just living in it. I like how Michigan's looking this year. They're looking like a strong team. And then you got Clemson, who's doing also very well. And unpopular opinion, but also I've always liked the sleeper teams that are in college, and I think the sleeper team.
That's they're dead.
Was I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes, I was gonna say Houston. Houston.
I'm just not. I mean, Houston. If again they'll beat Louisville.
They have 2 losses now, though.
Who they lose to this week? I didn't even know
SMU.
that. Oh, really?
They got destroyed by SMU.
Are you sure you want to stick with that Houston pick?
Hey, I've seen lots of miracles in college football. Hey, I'm gonna stick with Houston.
They're gonna need a lot, but I mean, Houston coming into the year looked like they had a really good chance. And well, Boise State. What's Boise State at? 7-0.
13th, and they're 7-0.
I mean, Boise State's up there every year. It doesn't matter. They can change coaches. Brian Harson's a proven winner, no matter if he's an OC at Texas, an OC at Boise State, or the head coach at Arkansas State. Brian Harson's probably could be the head coach at Texas next year if he so chooses. So Boise State could be a sleeper, but I'm gonna stick with my 4, and maybe Houston does get in.
Most definitely this year, but I'm still not really sure. I'm not decided on what team that I want in the Final Four, but I'm pretty sure Alabama's just going to win the whole thing this year.
All right. What do you got for me, Sean?
I'm going to go Alabama because they're just way too good to be stopped at this point. They get all the best guys to come to their school, and then they can actually make them work, unlike some teams like, say, LSU. They, get the talent, but they may not get the quarterback. It's true, yeah. They've dropped off a bit. I guess my second team, Michigan, because I don't think they lose, but this is also before they play Ohio State. And Ohio State always does this where, they'll just lose a game. You're like, you guys shouldn't have lost this,
But then they bounce back
losing
just
to
fine.
Virginia Tech when they won the national championship 2 years ago.
It's true.
It shouldn't happen.
Well, in one year they lost to an Illinois team way back, probably 8 or 9 years ago, and they still bounced back and made the national championship game. So Ohio State, I think,
that's what they do.
Ohio Stating.
Mm-hmm. I think the big problem is, I don't think both teams can make it unless, one of the
Chaos.
other teams, unless every other top team just drops. If you have a, Clemson, Washington, Louisville, Baylor, if they just all lose the final game, then we could have your situation. I don't think that's going to happen, but I mean it could because, anything can happen in college football. For number 3, I'm going to have Clemson because I think that they're playing a lot better now that the year's gone on. They weren't playing well before the Louisville game. They got to that game, and they got it going pretty well. And then number 4, I like Washington, and I don't know why. I just like them to put up 70 points a game. That's the type of game that I enjoy. It's kind of like the Big 12, except I think Washington can play defense.
More physical, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the Big 12 also has Baylor and West Virginia up there. I don't think that they're going to get in because I don't want them to because they can't play defense anyway, so I wouldn't want to watch it.
West Virginia's been playing, kind of defense, which I never thought I'd say that from a West Virginia team that isn't coached by Bob Huggins. But, they held TCU to 10 points, and they're playing. They're the only team in the Big 12 that's even making an effort to play defense. But
yeah.
I'm just not sure. They still have Oklahoma on their schedule, if I remember correctly. And
yeah.
So who knows with that one. Big 12's a mess.
So I'm going to go Baylor, Michigan, Clemson, Washington, which is the top 4 in the AP and the coaches poll right now.
You're going chalk, but that's okay.
Yeah, because it's pretty easy to do that. I think Alabama will unfortunately beat Washington. I think Michigan beats Alabama, and then Alabama wins it.
Michigan beats Clemson, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that. I don't know what I said.
All right, so this is who I have just we're on the outside that are getting close to Final Four, but not quite there. Louisville, they need probably someone in top 4 to slip up a little bit for them to get in. I have them just above Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State will beat Michigan later this year, though. I think it's going to be a great game there in Ohio State, but I think Michigan just a little better this year. Ohio State, this is supposed to be a rebuilding year. They had so many guys leave for the draft. They only have, I think, 6 returning starters. So for them to still be this relevant is just a testament to Urban Meyer in general. Utah, it'll all depend on this week versus Washington. If they can get that win, they're definitely in the discussion. And then Baylor, West Virginia, they're the winner. If any of those teams go undefeated, they'll need some help because I think it's the weakest of the Power 5 conferences. And I looked at West Virginia's schedule. They do have Oklahoma coming up, but it's at home. They also have Baylor at home. So it's a big plus for them. They also have Kansas at home, if anybody cares. They're going to destroy them by 50.
Wait, great. Who is playing? Kansas is playing who?
West Virginia, so they won't score.
I don't know. Kansas,
they won't score versus West Virginia.
I think they can.
They won't score unless it's like a fluke play.
Here's an interesting one for you.
One second, then I'm going to do my top 5, top 4, and I'll let you go.
Fair.
All right, top 4, Alabama 1, Michigan 2, Clemson 3, Washington 4. I think Washington is a lot like the Ohio State team a couple years ago. They're young. They have a good coach. They're energetic. They're a year ahead probably, but I think they have enough talent to get into the 4 seed. I don't think they'll do what Ohio State does and beat Alabama in that first week. I think Alabama's just way too dominant right now. I think they were talking last week. Alabama would be at least a 10-point favorite at home versus any team in the nation, including Michigan and Clemson, all these guys. So Alabama's just so dominant right now. And then I got Clemson at 3, Michigan 2, Alabama, of course, 1. I think Michigan edging out against Clemson. I got Alabama win the whole thing. What were you saying, Trevor?
Here's an interesting one, and this is going to get another hypothetical, but let's say Auburn wins out and wins the SEC.
2 losses, I don't think they get in.
Eventually a 2-loss team's going to get in. Or LSU won the national championship back in, and granted,
Bama,
it was chaos.
That's what's going to take for this year for them to get in.
But you think about it, their 2 losses will have been to Clemson by 6, and the A&M one. I still think A&M's a good team, and A&M might finish,
has 1 loss.
A&M might finish the year with 1 loss. Who knows? You'll have, thrashed Arkansas, which take Arkansas for what you want, but you'll have thrashed Arkansas. I think Ole Miss is a decent team. Georgia's not terrible. They're not.
They lost to Vandy. They're terrible.
But they're not terrible. And then you'll beat number 1 Alabama on the road. That would put you at 1 loss in
put
the
them right
SEC.
in the discussion. Yes,
you would win the SEC West by virtue of having the tiebreaker over Alabama.
That's true because you can't.
Do you
look
really
at them.
think the NCAA is not going to let an SEC? If Vanderbilt won the SEC title and went 6-6, I'm sure the NCAA could make up some. Well, they did beat Alabama, Ole Miss, and 4 Division I FCS schools or whatever, and they would still make the argument. So Auburn's a sleeper.
I can see where you're going with here with Auburn. They are a sleeper, but it would take losses from
at
least all but 3 teams like Michigan, Clemson, Washington, Louisville, Baylor, even Nebraska. I think they're going to have 2 losses anyways. Ohio State, West Virginia, A&M. They would have to take at least a loss or more by at least all but 3 of those teams for them to get in this situation because they're going to beat Alabama head to head. But I just don't. It's a long shot, but it's still a possibility. Yes. It's possible. Anything's possible. A couple years ago, no one thought Ohio State would make it, and they were after the loss early to beat Tech, and they stormed back into the college football playoff and won the whole thing. So that's why I like the college football playoff. I want it to go to 8 teams, so a team like Auburn, who's playing hot at the end of the year, could possibly get in easier, and it would help. I think it just makes it more dramatic at the end when you have 8 teams. I don't know, that's just me, and you feel like 8's probably the right number. I wouldn't want to go any more than 8. Is where I would say.
I think you could maybe go 12 and organically work.
See,
but
I don't like the odd numbers things.
I like the 8 because you can still put a reward on. I don't know if you want to consider the American Athletic a power conference, or it's not anymore. I guess now it's just the Power 5. So it wouldn't even have to be your direct conference champion, but have the conference assign who they want to represent them in the playoff, and then the committee choose 3. So you could get a Ohio State, Michigan, Louisville, Clemson, Alabama, Washington, and West Virginia or someone like that in there and seed them 1 through 8. No precedent based on, so you get the 1 team versus the 8 team, 4 versus 5, regardless of it. So you don't get TCU being a 5 seed playing against Clemson, who's a 4 seed. Clemson's probably going to win by 2-3 touchdowns. I like the idea that we have a playoff, though. The BCS system was so messed up for so many years. You had Nebraska get in with 2 losses. You had years where 3 or 4 teams would finish unbeaten, and then you had to decide. It's a better system, but
one more tweak and I'm good with it. One more tweak and I'm good with it. That's 8 teams and I'm good.
And then once it gets to 8 teams, people will be going, well, it should be 16 teams. And then eventually we'll have a March Madness of college football.
See, I don't want that. I just want
until
I don't like that argument though. It's like, well, this will lead to that precedent. It's like, no, 8 teams and done.
I
teams
agree. I
and
think
done.
8 teams is just right.
All right, so that's our college football prediction. We'll come back with some MLB World Series prediction time here on the X106 podcast. And time for MLB World Series prediction. It's going to be the Chicago Cubs with the Cleveland Indians. It's a battle of the losers. Both these franchises have had a lot of suffering throughout the years. Both have movies made over them, though, so that's kind of cool. Personally, I'm going to do mine first here. I'm going to take the Cleveland Indians in 7 games over the Chicago Cubs. This would be great, not only for Cleveland, who's having a great year, first of all, but also for MLB. You'd have the Cubs story coming back again next year, and the ratings would definitely help that. Cause it's kind of like whenever the Red Sox finally won the championship, it was like, oh, great, done. Like, the story's over then. Like, if the Cubs lose this year, say at Game 7 off of a walk-off hit or something like that, the story's back next year. The Cubs are going to come back angry. So I think it's going to be a really good series. I'm going to take Cleveland in 7 over the Chicago Cubs.
Who do you like as your MVP?
My MVP of the series, yes. I'll probably take – I don't know any position players for the Indians could win. I don't know. Take a Herculean effort. I'll probably go Andrew Miller just because I think he's a difference maker in this series. Put him in the 7th, and he shuts down the middle of the Cubs lineup, and you win a couple games that way. That's a difference maker right there. So I'm going to go Andrew Miller, Cleveland in 7. Both Cleveland teams, 7 games. Cavs, Indians. Browns are awful.
I was going to say, like, you kind of said the Browns were in there. I was like, no. The Browns are still a bad organization.
The 2 wins that matter.
There's only 2 Cleveland teams.
Not the semi-pro team.
Well, I want to notice the 2 teams or 2 cities representing the World Series have the 2 worst teams in the NFL. Is that a coincidence if you think about it?
I don't think it's a
coincidence. San Francisco's bad.
I remember someone was on their bandwagon earlier on this year and thought they were an 8-8 or 9-7
I was a year ahead of my time. They don't have a quarterback.
And they probably won't have a coach after this year either.
No, they're going to tank. They're going to get Deshaun Watson. Chip Kelly be just fine.
Yeah, I guess
Next.
we'll see.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. So I don't want either of these teams to win. So if we could have what happened Sunday with the Arizona Cardinals and the Seahawks just tie, and then they get to like share half the trophy. I'm just kidding.
Would that be good enough for Cubs fans, or would they still be upset?
No. They'd be like, oh, you guys ruined this for us, and
we haven't won a full World Series since 1908.
I don't want to hear
who
the
do you got, Sean?
I'm gonna go with the Cubs, but only because I think it's their year.
How many games?
I think they're gonna get it in 5. They're gonna win it.
That would mean clinching at Wrigley.
At home. And Trevor and I talked about this today. I am glad that I am not a Cubs fan, nor do I want to go to the games, because it was like $40,000.
We found one ticket for $50,000.
I'm sorry, I don't have that in my bank account.
Like
no one does.
Like, where was the ticket? Like, where was it?
It was a good seat, don't get me wrong.
It was like behind home
I'm not
plate.
sure that it was a standing room only I looked at for Game 3 was $2,500.
That's like more than the average man's
So we're going,
salary.
I guess.
That's like more than I would be like willing to put down on a lot of things.
I think the game looks just fine at home from my TV.
That's true.
Food's a lot cheaper too.
You get the announcers.
But I think the Cubs win in 5. But I think Miller does well for the Indians because I think he has to come in and kind of help them. But I mean, I just think it's the Cubs' year, and I don't know. They have so many guys who could win the MVP just because they have different guys that come in for different games.
You have plenty to choose from.
I'm gonna go Chris Bryant because it's the only name I can think of right now.
All right,
go.
Okay, the Cubs team. Both these teams kind of remind me of the Royals a couple years ago, but I think the Indians probably are better because they have a better bullpen. Outside of Aroldis Chapman, what do the Cubs have in their bullpen? Really, I mean. So yes. I think the Indians are a better team. I think the Cubs probably have more offensive power with Bryant and Rizzo and Javier Baez all of a sudden, and Addison Russell and Kyle Schwarber playing, and I'm sure they love the fact that they spent how much money on Jason Hayward, and he's going to ride the Pines for the World Series.
That's perfectly fine. He was not doing well.
I'm sure it's exactly why they spent, was it $26 million a year on him or something like that. I'm going to say Indians in 7. It's going to be a great series. It's probably going to resemble somewhat of the Giants-Royals World Series from a couple years ago. And I was going to go the same route you were going, Devin, but I'm going to go the route the NLCS went with MVPs. I'm going to go 2 MVPs for the Indians. This happened before. It happened in 0-1 with Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson when they led the Diamondbacks to victory. I'm going to say Andrew Miller because he's going to be shut down in games that he's in. And I'm going to say Francisco Lindor. I don't know if you've seen this kid play, but he's a stud.
He's good, yeah.
He's going to produce runs and stuff for the Indians that are going to help them get Miller in these high-leverage situations where he can seal the deal. Francisco Lindor, Andrew Miller, your MVPs. Party Cleveland, you're going to win another world championship.
What do you got for me, Jonathan?
I'm going to say Chicago. I'm going to say Chicago Cubs this year in 6 games because I really think the Cubs are hungry this year. It's been well over a century since they've won the World Series. And when's the last time they've even been? Like 1945. It was the end of World War II.
Curse of the Billy Goat.
But, yeah, for MVP, I'm going to say Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's a great player. I've seen him do wonderful things this year. But, yeah, Cubs in 6.
One quick thing. I saw a thing on Yahoo today. This guy had put in 1993 in his yearbook senior picture, the Cubs will win the World Series in 2016. It's been authenticated and everything. If
cool,
they lose, that guy is going to be the next curse. He will never be able to have his face shown in Chicago.
Whatever.
Bartman's fine, isn't he?
He's throwing the first pitch, right, for Game 3?
I don't think Bartman's been seen this entire
He's in the
postseason.
basement.
You know what the
somebody's
Indians
house.
should do?
Have him
Is for
throw
Game
out.
3, hire a guy like a Steve Bartman lookalike and dress him up.
That would be dangerous.
Bartman
I'm just going to
lookalike.
say.
No, in
they'll-
Cleveland, though.
no,
No,
do
no,
it
no.
in Chicago.
Don't do it in
Put him-
Chicago. Don't do that to the
Cleveland,
kid.
We don't
put
need
him
Cleveland
in
to
that
have
seat as
more of an
well.
ego
Buy
than
that
they already
seat.
do.
Whatever that seat is worth, it'll be worth it.
I don't know. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra work. And also things that could complicate this playoff series a little bit. It is late October and almost November in Chicago and Cleveland.
Not
There
quite
is
the
rain
best
and
weather.
stuff in the forecast, so you could, instead of
Yuck.
having a 3.5 hour exciting baseball game, you could have a 6 hour rain delay with great stuff happening. So that's always just wonderful for the MLB. And that's going to be it for our baseball section. We will come back and talk NBA here on the X106 podcast. And now our final section, the NBA playoff prediction. NBA starts tonight as we're going to look at the final 4 teams, 2 in the East, 2 in the West. We'll start with Sean over here to my left. Who you got coming out of the East first?
Coming out of the East, I go with the Cavaliers because I don't think anyone can stop them. I think they're still going to win like about 54, 55 games because they'll, lose games throughout the year. 2 seed, the Knicks.
You could draw a name out of a
The
hat.
Knicks?
Really.
I could.
The 2010 All-Star team?
Yeah, that one. The Knicks. 3, I'll go Celtics, and 4, I'll go Bulls. And I think those are the only teams that you're going to see coming out of the East that are going to be like really good. And then there'll be other teams. Toronto's going to be pretty good. I don't think the Heat are that good, but I don't entirely watch a lot of NBA. I watch more college basketball.
That's fine.
But we'll get to that at a way later date.
Who you got out of the West? We'll do this. We'll start with
The West.
the Wild West.
I'm going to go with Golden State.
What? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Exactly. Golden State, San Antonio, every other team I don't like. I'm going to go Houston because I think that they can just outscore people at this point. Clippers? Maybe?
All right. If
I don't know.
healthy,
If they
can
stay
do it.
healthy.
Well, see, yeah, I think they'll get like the 4 or 5 seed, and then I think the Thunder are a team to watch, not because they'll be like extremely good, but I think because a certain player may go off.
Are you talking about number 0, Russell Westbrook?
I may be talking
I
about
thought you were
number
talking about
0.
Steven Adams.
No, I'm talking about Westbrook. He's gonna probably average 28, 9, and 9, just because no one's there to stop him himself. Like he's the only one who's gonna be able to stop himself. And then I guess for my finals pick, I'm gonna be very, very bland. Cavs, Warriors, Part 3.
Bland
Go.
but smart.
Well, yeah, I mean it's the money pick.
Do you have an MVP prediction? Anyone you think is going to win the MVP?
Out of everyone, I'm gonna go Russell, but that's because I just don't think that.
You can put gaudy stats up here. I think.
Yeah, and I think they may only win like 50 games at the most because they don't,
Probably
they're
give him in
not-
the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that'll get them in, but I don't think they're gonna.
What do you got for me, Trevor?
In the East, in no particular order, but I think the 4 best teams in the East Conference are going to be obviously Cleveland. Any team with LeBron is going to be a top 4 team. I like Atlanta. They were a decent team a couple years ago. They signed Dwight Howard. Take it for what you want. He's a solid player. And then from here, it's kind of whatever. I mean, who's coaching the Knicks now? I don't even remember who the coach of the Knicks is now.
Hornacek.
Is it Jeff Hornacek? Okay.
Yeah, Hornacek, yeah.
Former Iowa Stater. I'm from Iowa. I'm going to go New York Knicks. And I'm going to go Washington Wizards. Scott Brooks is now the head coach at Washington. He did a decent job. I don't care what people say at Oklahoma City. It was just expectations were far too high. You got John Wall and Bradley Beal. They're going to be okay. And I'm going to say Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going to go Cleveland over Atlanta, just like we saw a couple years ago. In the West, my top 4, Golden State. I'm I'm going to go Clippers because I think they got enough talent to get there. I'm not sure after that. And then I'm going to go Spurs. I know. Tim Duncan retired. But Greg Popovich is to the NBA what Bill Belichick is to the NFL.
Yeah.
I respect that.
You can put anybody out there, and he's going to be – they still have Manu, Kawhi,
They
Tony
picked that
Parker.
Pau Gasol, so they got the big
Pau
they can play for
Gasol,
Duncan.
well, Marcus Aldridge. They're just fine. I'm going to go San Antonio, and then this is a team that I actually think is going to surprise everybody and get to the Western Conference Finals and lose to Golden State. Minnesota.
Bold.
Andrew Wiggins.
I like it.
Andrew
I like that.
Wiggins. Karl
Kansas.
Anthony Towns. Ricky Rubio. They hired Tom Thibodeau, who is a very defensive coach. The biggest knack has been their defense. He is going to make Ricky Rubio a better point guard, probably an all-star caliber point guard. And you have a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who is a once-in-a-10-year type player. I think they end up losing to Golden State in kind of this magical year where they get things ready for 2017. I think, Golden State and Cleveland, this is like Magic and Bird. Steph and LeBron is like Magic and Bird. And those guys went back and forth in the 80s. Steph won one year. LeBron won the next. It's Steph's year, baby. They're gonna win it. And for MVP, I'm going my man Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins is going to have one of those breakthrough years that we go, wow, we knew this kid was special, but he is really special, and he's going to make that team a winner, probably a 50, 55-plus game winner.
All right, what do you got for me, Jonathan? This is your sport. You've been waiting all year for this.
Yes, I've been waiting all year. Definitely, I'm going to say the Cavs are going to be the number one team in the East because they literally have everything. They got shooters. They got shooters in J.R. Smith, and Kevin Love is a stretch big. And then off the bench, they got Channing Frye. And then they got the powerhouse of LeBron James. He's an icon. He could do everything on the court. He shoots. He passes. He rebounds. He does everything. Raptors number 2 because Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are a very dynamic duo. And then you got a dominant center and Jonas Valanciunas. And then the Knicks because they just picked up Derrick Rose. Not 2011 MVP Derrick Rose, but I think he could still dish out the ball to Carmelo and Porzingis, and they'll get some buckets. Hopefully they'll do great. And then Celtics is number 4 in the East because they just picked up Al Horford. It's going to be a great addition. Plus with Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder, it's going to be a good team. And in the West, the Warriors. Sad to say, I'm definitely not a Warriors fan. I'm glad the Cavs won last year. The reason the Warriors are so successful is because they stretch the floor so much by standing out so deep on 3, and when you pass them when they stretch the floor like that, they get enough space to pass it inside because defense wants to go out there with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Similar effect in college football when they spread their offenses. They spread the defense out. There's more lanes.
Yes. So it's either they're getting a bucket inside to Zaza Pachulia or Draymond Green, or they're passing out to 3 to Curry and Klay Thompson. And now Kevin Durant, who's learning to shoot out there just as well as Curry. And then you got the Spurs. This is Kawhi Leonard's team now with Tim Duncan leaving. I think Kawhi is going to be a great MVP candidate. He's definitely built up his offense. He was once known as a defensive player. He still is. Back-to-back defensive player of the year. The Spurs are definitely going to be a great team, along with a great front court in LaMarcus Aldridge and Pau Gasol. And then you got the Clippers. If they stay healthy, they still have a great team in Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. All those guys. It's Lob City out there. It's gonna be fun watching them. And then you got the Thunder, who are definitely I could see them being number 4 seed. Westbrook, it's his team. Now with KD gone, he's got to come out with a vengeance. I really think he might average a triple-double this season. First one since Oscar Robertson in 62. And then other teams I see, the Trailblazers with Dame Time and CJ McCollum, they're going to do well. Timberwolves with a young team like Cat and Andrew Wiggins and Zach LaVine, they're going to do well. Houston, hopefully, I think James Harden is running point guard this year. And then you got Dallas. Dirk is 40 years old, and he could still run. It. But MVP, Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's going to definitely go off this year. He's got a vengeance. He's got something to prove. Hopefully triple-double. I want to see that. That'd be fun to watch. Definitely watch out for Westbrook this year.
What do you have for your finals prediction?
Finals prediction, Cavs and Warriors, unfortunately.
Right.
Part 3. Cavs in 7.
There you go.
Definitely Cavs in 7.
There we go. All right, for me, I'm going to go through who I think the top 8 teams in each conference. I got the Cavs at 1. No one said this team. The Indiana Pacers at 2. Paul George is a man. I can't believe everybody forgot about Paul George.
I definitely agree with that.
Who's that?
Oh, don't do this to
The
me.
shining light of the Pacers.
He's mini LeBron. He's a better shooter, but not everything else isn't quite there. Celtics at 3, Raptors 4. I think the Pistons at 5, Hornets, Wizards, Bucks. Knicks are old. Bulls are old. They can't shoot. Those 2 teams are overrated right now. They're not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion, even in the weak East. In the West, Warriors, Spurs, Clippers, Trailblazers, Thunder, Rockets, Jazz, and Timberwolves. I think Timberwolves come in the 8th seed. They're going to give the Warriors a challenge in the first round just because they're so long and athletic, but they won't be able to beat them. The Spurs Jazz is kind of a sleeper for a series, but you have Clippers Rockets. That could be really interesting. And then Trailblazers Thunder with Lillard and Harden and Westbrook going at it. That could be really fun. My top 3 MVP candidates is LeBron, Westbrook, and Harden with a dark horse at Lillard, kind of depending on how he does this year. My finals, I have the Cavs over the Warriors in 7. LeBron, let's go, baby. Do it again. Please. I think the Warriors are going to have a little bit of chemistry issues this year coming with Durant, and they're not as deep as they were last year.
Yeah,
in the last few years. So that depth is going to really hurt them in the regular season. They're going to be
they're
wore out.
bench-
Every one of us have Cleveland and Golden State.
Yeah,
Was
because
I think
the
everybody
only-
in the
Was I the only
It's
one with
literally
Golden
the-
State?
You picked the Golden State.
I did pick Golden State.
Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah,
it's
Understandable.
I just don't like Golden State because they're like, hey, we brought all these guys together, which is what LeBron did a few years ago, which is fine. You know,
not to
like
the same
I
extent.
mean, Kevin Durant went to an already built team.
Yeah, yeah.
LeBron went to Miami because he went to go build that team himself. So he gathered,
But he had Chris
players.
Bosh and Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne was there, and he got Bosh
Dwayne
to come
Wade
with
was
him.
there, yeah. But
And he
they were-
didn't.
then they
And
were
he
able to
didn't go
get
from
Ray
a team
Allen.
that was equipped to beat that team. And he didn't like Durant went from OKC to Golden State, where OKC probably should have beat Golden State last year. He didn't just jump from there to there. If LeBron would have went to Boston instead of Miami, then it would have been the same exact thing. But he went to Miami so he could beat Boston because Cleveland was not putting anything around him in his first. That's what people are forgetting in this whole comparing the two. LeBron had nobody helping but Big Z and Mo Williams his first time around.
Would you rather go play with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade or Anderson Varejao and Zydrunas Ilgauskas? It's a no-brainer. You'd rather go play with Bosh and Wade. I
think there was some stuff between Durant and Westbrook that we didn't see, which is why it all happens. But I think there was personality. They were too much of a clash, those two. But I think, and just kind of looking at all the MVP candidates right now, if you even like Durant's an MVP candidate, Westbrook, Harden, they all 3 used to be on the same team. Now they're only Westbrook's the only one left. That team was so good, and they disbanded so quickly. It kind of shows you how windows in the NBA are not as long as you think they are.
James Harden was a sixth man on that team.
He was labeled 6th man, but he played starters minutes.
Yeah,
Thomas Cephalosha was not.
Maybe I'm just not like a total big LeBron fan, and I don't know why. You know, LeBron's a super great guy, and all the stuff he does is so amazing. But I've just never been a fan of LeBron. You think about it, I'm not sure. I mean, without Kyrie Irving hitting that 3, does LeBron make that block? Because instead,
It was before the 3.
but
before the
still,
3.
okay, I guess it was, but.
Coming out of nowhere.
But still, if Kyrie Irving doesn't make that shot, does LeBron make another block? If that ball doesn't land right in front of, was it Chris Bosh who got the rebound and threw it back to Ray Allen? They beat the Spurs a couple years ago.
That was in Game 6, and LeBron came back in Game 7 and dominated the game.
But without Ray Allen making that shot, there is no Game 7. If Kawhi Leonard makes those free throws before then, it's a 4-point game, not a 3-point game, and it doesn't matter. That's why when it comes to the argument of who's better, Jordan or LeBron, that's where I lean Jordan a little bit more. Plus, I think that's a stupid argument anyways, because I think if LeBron played before Jordan, you would be making the same argument that Jordan isn't better than LeBron.
The only thing I would argue with that one, you said that if Kyrie wouldn't have made that shot, they wouldn't have won the game. If LeBron would have averaged 36, 13, 8, that whole series, they wouldn't have been in that series in the first place.
Literally.
So I get that it's a huge shot. I love Kyrie Irving for the rest of my life for hitting that shot. And that Kevin Love actually played defense on Steph Curry and made him miss the shot after that. Good job,
that was
Caleb.
a
You don't play
huge
defense,
play.
but good job.
You don't play
It's
defense.
It's just great. Like, LeBron does so many things that get you in position to win. Yes, he needs help. Everybody needs help. Michael Jordan needed Steve Kerr to hit a game-winning 3. He needed Scottie Pippen. He needed Dennis Rodman. He
had a
needed all
sack
these
team,
guys
too.
to do these things.
Was
People
it
forget
Horace
about
Grant
that.
that hit one? Who?
Horace
Tony
Grant.
Paxson. It was Tony Paxson.
Paxson hit a
John-
shot. He had Phil
John
Jackson as the
Paxson.
coach.
John Paxson, my bad.
They forget they were so loaded around Michael Jordan too. The year that he retired, they still won 60 games and were a game away from making the finals again without him. They
when
were
he-
so
when he
loaded.
retired
People
the
forget
first
about
time.
that. Yeah.
Second time they
Yeah,
were.
when he retired the
'cause
first
they had
time,
Tim
that
Floyd,
first
the
year
old
after he
coach at Iowa
retired.
State, and they weren't very good at all.
The first year after he retired, the Bulls were still really, really good. They were only a game away from making the finals, and people forget about that. They would say, "Well, his last six for six." I'm like, "Yeah, but also that first time he came out of retirement and he went to the Bulls, they lost the Magic in the playoffs. Still, like they still lost the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. They didn't make it. I mean." Michael Jordan made 6 finals, 6 for 6. I'm not taking any away from that, but he made 13 years in the league, made 6 championships. LeBron's been 13 or 14. He's made to 7 already, and he's still gonna be playing more. LeBron never quit on his sport. LeBron never had a gambling problem. LeBron, people will not. Okay, I'm still going. Michael Jordan's still better at this point right now, but people saying that he has no shot to catch Michael Jordan are Skip Bayless, in my opinion. It's just ridiculous. He still has a chance.
I think it's hard to compare them because even though it was only a decade or decade and a half of difference between them, the game is so different. And maybe I'm the only one, but I think the NBA was better 10, 15, 20 years ago than what it is now. It's probably more competitive now, but even you had Jordan, who they owned the NBA, but you had guys like John Stockton and the mailman, Karl Malone. You had
Barkley.
I wanted to see them win a title.
Barkley and KJ in Phoenix. You had
Clyde Drexler.
Drexler and the Dream in Houston. You had Gary Payton and Sean Kemp in Seattle. Reggie.
I wish the NBA would go a little more physical like it used to be back in the day because I thought it made better rivalries because you had Michael Jordan going against the Pistons and it was physical. Those two teams hate each other now. You don't see that as much now. You saw a glimpse of it in the finals because they were letting teams be a little more physical. And LeBron and Curry LeBron was getting under Curry's skin. And I really loved it because you saw the passion of the two teams. You get some of these games where it's so I get why they want it free moving. It's better basketball. It's more scoring and it gets more audience, which is big. But I think the NBA is better when it's more physical and there's villains, which I think the Golden State's actually a good thing in the long run because the villain in the league. Everybody don't want to see them win year after year after year with bringing stars together. So I think it's a good thing, but I want teams to be more physical with it and allow them to be more physical because I think it makes it a better league.
Go and look at like Reggie Miller against the Knicks back in the 90s.
I watched that 30 for 30. It was great.
When him and John Starks would literally get into it, that is what it was about. It was the Bad Boys era. You had Bill Laimbeer and the Pistons going way back before that. I think it was just a better game back then. Not that it's terrible. It's different. It's transformed into a more of a...
I think the game's better to watch now, but I like the games back then better because they were closer and just the energy in the stadium and the arenas were a little better and the physicality, the emotion of the game I think was a little better then because you could be more physical. But I think the style of play now, because it was Indiana versus Knicks here that you say was great, there was 40 free throws shot in those games. They were not fun games to watch because they're on the line the whole time because they're fouling each other.
But then you had a guy
and
like
you had
Reggie
two
Miller.
guys on the court who could actually score. You had a bunch of other guys who were just bruisers.
But then you had,
that's not good basketball.
Then you had Reggie Miller who would score 14 points in 17 seconds.
Yeah, those are great moments. But I'm saying you had 3 guys on the court for each team that couldn't shoot a basketball to save their lives.
And one of the main differences between the NBA then and now is it's a player-in sport.
I'm fine with that.
It doesn't matter who the coaches are. You can say with the Bulls that they won those championships because they had Jordan and Pippen and Robin, which is true. But Phil Jackson was also a mastermind. Phil Jackson's the greatest professional basketball coach in
but I think this league has always been a players' league. Go back to Magic whenever they won the championship with the Lakers. It was him and Kareem. You go back to the Celtics. It was Larry Bird with Kevin McHale and all those guys. The NBA has always been more of a players' league, and the NFL more of a coaches' league.
But now, but it used to be, it wasn't as big of a gap. But now,
I'm fine with the gap being this big.
You and I could be co-coaches and take over the Cleveland team or the Golden State team, and we could probably coach them to 65 or 70 wins easily.
LeBron, take the ball, go to the hoop, pass to Kyrie, let's go.
That was literally what David Blatt did.
And Tyronn Lue did the same thing.
He didn't even do it well.
Tyronn
Lue. Problem.
Here's the thing. Tyronn Lue actually he got listened to. People actually listened to Tyronn Lue.
They respect Tyronn Lue.
I think it helped that Tyronn
they respect
Lue was a former player.
The biggest thing coaches now is getting your respect of your players in the NBA. It's not so much what your scheme is or anything like that. It's can you relate with the guys? Can you keep all the people's egos in check long enough to win a championship? I think Tyronn Lue is a good guy for that because I think he has respect. Of even LeBron, you have to have LeBron respect or else you're going to lose the locker room. You're going to get fired, a.k.a. Coach Blatt.
I think Steve Kerr is probably a good example of that too. We won't see many more Greg Popoviches in the NBA where they can just take over and like the Spurs, they won those because they had Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, Robert Horry, David Robinson, but also Greg Popovich on the sidelines certainly helped that one. So it's a different game now. It's totally different.
Personally, I think there's only 2 coaches in the NBA right now who make a big difference night to night with wins and losses. Coach Pop and Brad Stevens in Boston.
And I love Brad Stevens. It's weird because you see a lot of guys jump from college to the NBA and it totally fails. Rick Pitino, John Calipari. I'm forgetting one.
Well, I think John could work now because half his players are in the league.
But but I mean, and they're making NBA money. But I mean, I don't really know. You know, it's why you see a guy like maybe like that might not be why Bill Self's never gone to the NBA. But look at Tom.
The day Bill Self leaves is the day I cry.
But
Taylor Dameron and I will cry on the floor
But
together.
look at Tom Izzo. I mean, Tom Izzo actually had an offer from Cleveland at the same time that LeBron was kind of mulling whether or not he wanted to leave Cleveland, and Coach K's turned down the Lakers, he's turned down the Nets, he's turned down the Celtics because he realizes he has a better gig there. Mm-hmm. I said when
you're in college basketball, you have all the control in the world.
Absolutely, and you can do a lot more. I said when Fred Hoiberg took the Chicago Bulls job, he would regret it and be back in the college game in 5 years, and I still believe that because you can go 28-4 at Iowa State for 30 years, and they're not going to fire you. But you can go 59-23 in Chicago and get swept by Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 or 3 years in a row, and you're on the hot seat. So it's just totally different. I think college basketball is better, but that's just me.
College basketball is definitely more of a coach's game than the NBA, which I'm fine. I like both just because there's a variety of it. I think the NBA is a better game to watch, but college basketball with the kids, not really kids, but because of my age, but college students playing their heart out the way they do every night, 99 out. I think college basketball is taking a big hit ever since they went to the 1 year
They need
rule.
to change that, by the way. That is so stupid.
I think if you keep players in, first of all, it's going to help the NBA because you're going to get guys who are experienced coming in and they're more developed. They actually have a game to work with, and coaches in college can actually work with them and make them better. If you give a guy 2 years with Coach K, how much better he's going to be in the NBA than instead of just half a semester of basketball, pretty much.
I'm all for kind of going like the Major League Baseball route. If you want to go to the NBA after high school, fine. But
a few players have done it.
Yeah. And a few players have done it and done it well. LeBron James, Dwight Howard, they did it really well. But then you get a guy like a Kwame Brown that it doesn't work out.
It was good for one season and then
give him that option. But if you're there for at least 2 years, maybe even 3. Because I agree. I think 3. Do we get a chance to play under a guy like a Coach K or a Tom Izzo?
I don't think you want to do that if you're college basketball. You will not get any talent that way.
NBA
if you do it that way, you will not get any talent.
But I think it makes the game better. It makes the game pure.
No, because you're not going to get any of those guys to go straight. A lot of those guys are going to go straight from high school to pros. They're not going to want to spend 3 years at college. They're not going to want to spend 3 years in Lawrence, Kansas. They're not going to want to do that.
True.
2 years tops. I think that's why you just need to do 2 years.
You can stay.
Nothing out of high school, 2 years, and that's it. If you want to go, then fine. If not, you can come back. Really? I don't like the whole, I get why baseball does it, but baseball is different. You also have 3 different leagues of minor leagues and stuff like that. NBA has a D League, which is still developing, which I love, actually, because I love the development of the D League, and just bringing that a little bit later, Sean. But I like just 2 years, just extend it from 1 year to 2, and be like, if you want to go, then great, go. If not, come back another year. This 1 year thing is really hurting college basketball, and it's hurting the product on the court.
I think the problem is you don't see as many. I mean, you see a Kentucky team like a couple of years ago, but then what happened after that? They all bolted. You don't see those great teams like I'm a Duke fan. You see the Duke teams of the early 90s.
Better than being a Kansas fan. We look at Sean.
I like both Duke and Kansas. I don't really have a true team in college basketball, but you see a Duke team.
You know how many people hate you right now?
Yeah,
you have Bobby Hurley, you had Grant Hill, you had Christian Laettner, you had Thomas Robinson.
Now y'all got Brandon Ingram,
Brian Hill, and coming up. I mean, so they were a good team. They just reloaded and reloaded. You saw Kentucky in the early 90s. They did the same thing. So I think the game was more pure when you got guys like that stay around 2 or 3 years or 4 years.
The game was just better.
Some players, in my opinion, can actually survive like 1 year of college and then go straight to the NBA. Kyrie Irving, #1 draft pick.
Wiggins did it pretty well.
Can you imagine if LeBron James would have had 2 years to play under Tom Izzo?
I don't think I would have enjoyed it.
Or if Dwight Howard,
went to Ohio State.
If Dwight Howard,
he would not have went to Michigan State.
Dwight Howard was going to go to either Georgia Tech or North Carolina. when Dwight Howard was drafted, Georgia Tech had just came off of losing a national championship game.
Dwight Howard was a freak of nature, though. They had to get him in the NBA.
There's not very many people who are like that. A lot of these guys who are really talented, like Wiggins was really talented, but he needed a year for his body to develop more. These are still 18, 19-year-old kids.
Kobe Bryant,
Wiggins, half the Lakers
in
team,
the mid-90s.
half the Lakers team cannot even buy a drink right now at a bar. All right, they are babies.
What's the average age of that team? Like 22 years old or something like that?
It's young. Minnesota last year, they were young. And I get that they're going to be good here in 3 or 4 years, but you're going to go 3 or 4 years in the NBA where you're getting beat
according to my
down.
picks, Minnesota's going to be good this year.
Well, Minnesota might make the playoffs this year, but that's still me being optimistic about them. They still might be another year away.
Tibbs going to be coach of the year. Mark it down.
Okay, he might be. I don't know. I think Minnesota's going to make the playoffs at 8th seed, but I'm not going to put my house or my apartment or anything on that. I just think Minnesota could still be a year away. They could make it this year. They could surprise, but these teams that are so young, you're not going to win the NBA with young talent. You're going to win with more seasoned talent. I think it's come better out of college. It'd be a mutual thing for college and NBA to keep guys in there for another year. It helps replenish the college ranks, and the NBA will get better guys coming into the league then.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I don't know. That'll be it for our podcast today. We'll be on YouTube again next week as we're going to switch from SoundCloud to YouTube. It's been Devin Albertson, Nienow, Trevor Maeder, and Jonathan Bynum here on the X106 podcast.